Well, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. We are doing a lot of fun stuff in the solar shop today. Figured I'd show you around. We'll talk about it. Maybe we can both learn something, huh? I had somebody in the comments say they didn't come here to watch a dog video. Well, this is Bear. He's our dog. And sometimes he's on our videos. Would you call it a dog video? I don't know. But he's around a lot and he helps us out. Right, Mr. Bear? Yeah. Okay. His friend Zuki's not here. So we're working on this Mercedes chassis, Winnebago, something or other. What is it? Let's get it right. What is the actual, what is it here? Winnebago touring coach. Nice little thing. We're going to be doing an inverter upgrade on there. Oh, what's going on here? This is my son's RX-8 car. Got it up on the lift, and he's still doing some work on it, and so I'm going to let him do that. He's kind of taking over the shop a little bit, but yeah, he's been spraying all the undercarriage stuff, all the parts that are starting to rust a little bit. He's been trying to clean all those up. Anyway, on to this guy. Something I wanted to talk about here real quick is lead acid batteries, charging them. And this van has some sort of draw on it, like a phantom draw, and it keeps killing the battery, and you got to jump it every time. And I really recommend these lab power supplies for trying to restore them, or at least start to. We had to do it with another car that we had. And what you want to do is basically just charge it at a constant rate for a really long time. But what you're going to notice, and it might fool you at first, is the voltage is going to be, like when I first started this, the voltage was at 14.6 volts and the amps was only 2 because the internal resistance in the battery was really high. And then what happens over time is the amps continue to increase. Yes, Mr. Bear. What? See, another dog video. Leave your comments down below, complaints. I'll read them off to Bear, and he will respond. Anyway, so what you'll see happen is the amps will continue to increase, and then something really weird happens. This is limited to 10 amps as a charger. The voltage starts dropping because the internal resistance continues to drop. But that's a good thing. And now we're down to 13.52. This has been on here for a couple hours. I'm going to continue to let it sit on here until the voltage climbs back up to about 14.6 or so. At that point, and the amps fall off to, let's say, 2 to 3 amps, it's pretty much full then. The battery has been as restored as it's going to get. But just doing this for this customer, and so I don't have to put a jump pack on it all the time. All right. What are you looking at? All right, what are we doing in here? Real simple stuff. There we go. We got lights in here. This is a nice coach. I don't know. Like, I think this is more, I don't know, almost like a touring coach. Well, that's... Shoot, that's what it said, touring coach. But, like, it's not necessarily for living in. Although it could be. I don't know. Is there a bathroom in here or is this a closet? Oh, that's a bathroom. But it's put together really nice. Okay, anyway. We're going to be putting in a Multiplus in here. Victron Multiplus 2000 is the plan. And I think I'm going to do it in this side. There's 2 of these sides here. One side here has the converter and the box, and then this side has the transfer switch, but a lot more room. Sorry, when I say box, I mean the breaker box. And there are some DC wires here, but I think it makes more sense to just tap into the DC system. Not there, because we're going to have to run thicker cables. And the batteries are underneath. So, but I think this is the place to put this inverter. And there's not a lot of great ways to mount it. So actually, I'm thinking about using some foam and adhesive glue and actually some industrial strength Velcro to kind of build a soft mount on this. Because it's right over the wheel well. And then, yeah, mount it to that. And then it wires up here easy enough to the transfer switch. And the battery cables, not quite sure, like I said, through the floor probably. And they it'll end up where it ends up. But that's not all we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding some solar on the roof. Let's take a look and see what our options are going to be. So up on the rooftop here, click, click, click. Hopefully I don't fall through like good Saint Nick. Hi-oh. Jeez. I don't know where that came from. It's just dad stuff, I guess. Okay. So there's one, I don't know if this is a 100 watt or 120 watt panel, but it has some severe snail trailing. Let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit more. See all those little cracks and stuff? Those are called snail trails in the industry. It's basically where a crack has developed in the layers, and I think there's just little miniature arcing that starts to, or burns that start to form throughout the cells. They generally still perform pretty well, but it does impact performance to a degree. And over time, I think every panel will suffer it, and that's why panels are only good for about 20, 25 years. I'm not sure exactly how long this one's been up there, but we're gonna pull this off. And I think we can get, I got some skinny panels. We'll maybe use some of those. They are the Rich Solar Slim panels, 100 watts. I think we can get one up there, maybe a couple right here, who knows? And maybe one over there, I don't know, and maybe a 100 watt one in there. I got some ideas, but I pretty much want to try and max it out within reason and within spec of the charge controller. So that's the plan. Let's check in on this little battery here thing too, huh? Now, if you remember, last time this is like a 13.5 or something, and the amps are already falling as we speak. All right, that time it went up. Now it's going down, down, down. Go back up, go down. Overall, the amps are still falling. It's basically in an absorption phase. Just really trying to recover that battery as best I can. So we're going to let that keep doing its thing, and probably the next hour or so I'll take it off the charger. Thinking about how we're going to place this, and we don't have a ton of room. So what I think I'm going to do, we're talking about with the foam on here. I was just seeing how much room I actually have. This is about 1.25 inches there. So I think I'm gonna do a strip of 1.25 inches thick foam here. Tilt it up like that. And then we got our AC output of the transfer switch right here. So we'll run that right into the Multiplus. Then the other piece we gotta do is, I think there's a little cover here I gotta undo, and that will give us access to the batteries down below, and we can connect into the battery system. Even when things seem simple enough, a lot of times they're not. I got all these trim pieces off in here. It's a little tricky to do. I do like that they're basically like an aluminum or stamped steel covered in this very plush vinyl like that. And then this piece too, lots of screws and stuff. You just got to look carefully, keep finding them. But we found there's daylight there. That's how we're going to get 2 conductors up here. We'll get them into there. Then we get the Multiplus mounted. I have some of the industrial strength Velcro here. Like, that's not coming off. Okay, maybe it would. But it's, especially once it goes through a heat cycle, and if it gets hot, that glue does not come off. It's some pretty tough stuff. Then I got it on here. Got a piece of foam here. So it, and then this is stuck on there pretty good. I think that's going to work out just great. I haven't test fit it yet because I don't know that I'm going to be able to get it off easily. I don't know exactly which part of this is going to rip off. So I'm just going to delay and wait. So in the meantime, I'm going to run some wire up there, put some ends on it, and then or I gotta drop the battery in there too. Oh, well, you know what, let's take a look at that. Use these leveling blocks that we use for our bus to lift this up a little bit more. Took a lot of foam out. I'll show you here. So that's where we're putting some wires up through. And then here's one of the batteries. And we're not converting to lithium, at least not just yet. We're gonna stay with the AGMs, see where they get this customer. What else am I doing? Oh, so I'm gonna have to take this down. My plan is to put a jack underneath here loosen these up, take this off, and hopefully the battery tilts down just a little bit, and then I can get better access to the terminals up here, and then put the wires on there. Makes sense to me. Well, look who's up and at it. Welcome to the dog video where we keep working on RVs, solar, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they're busy. All right, it's next morning. I gotta try and get that battery down. See if we can, hey, keep it down. There, don't worry about it. They're just playing with a ball. They do this all day. All day. So I gotta get that down there, try and get some connections on it. Welcome back to underneath the Winnebago touring coach here. And we're getting ready to, I don't want to take the battery completely out. All I want to do is get access or better access to the wires up there. So my plan is use a floor jack. And because I have the tires up on some ramps, so it's a little easier for me to be under here. I got some blocks to counteract that and hopefully lift that up. There's some nuts. I got this light here. There's some, well, whatever, some of these dinguses here. You'll loosen those up and it should be able to come up and then out. And I also took off the, there's a main support catch winger dinger. I don't know, I'm just making up words. All right, so my original plan was to tip it, leave this part of the battery box engaged with this lip here. But the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, well, it's a little bit more precarious. That's the word for the day, precarious. I think it means unstable and likely to fail. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to bring it straight down even, so that way it's not tipped and it could fall off my jack and my OSHA approved wood blocking here. So I'm going to try and release this jack real slow and we're going to see what happens. We got to turn it the right way though. Which way is it? Right there we go. Let's see. There it goes. Pretty much. I want to keep it in this frame so it stays somewhat less precarious, because as you can see, it is now precarious once again. I think I got plenty of room, yeah, to get to that and to the negative over there. Actually, the negative I could just put to frame somewhere, but who knows? Actually, this is not as precarious as I think. What happens? Let's just keep coming down a little bit more. Whoop, that was too fast. Way too fast, but that worked out really more better. Those terminals look great. Perfect. That's my sarcasm coming out, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try and clean those up a little bit if I can. All right, got the computer over here. Just got done finishing up programming this Multiplus 2000. And it's coming along okay. Got it all wired up. Went the output of the transfer switch into the input here, and the output of here. Yeah, and the output goes to where this is the old cable that was in here. So I don't need any junctions, no unions, just terminal to terminals. Worked out really well. I got the temp sensor going down there. The other little modification I made is I added an inverter switch, a remote switch. So you can see this is on. If I flip it, it turns off. If I flip it back on, there we go. Comes back on. It's basically just operating this same switch here, but so the customer doesn't have to pull all this off to get at it. All right, makes sense? Makes sense to me. So I'm gonna start putting all the covers back on, and then we'll get at the solar on this one. So take a look at this. Here's the old panel we just pulled off, and this is a new 100 watt rich solar panel. And just to show you, oh, hold on. That was an ope there, just so everybody knows. That was a Minnesota ope. Oop. This is a 100 watt panel. Okay. Here's a new 100 watt panel. And here they are roughly, one laid on top of the other. This is why it's important to evaluate all your options. Even though this is a Zamp solar panel, really good panel. I'm guessing it's older, so it's one of the reasons why it's not as efficient. The cell designs are a little bit different. You can tell there's more bus bars in the newer ones, less bus bars in the older ones. And this is not a knock on Zamp. Zamp makes great products, in fact. But one of the things the newer panels do is they reduce the dead space in them. So like all these little triangles and shapes, they get a little bit smaller here. That's one of the ways they increase efficiency. A little less room around the edge, that sort of stuff. But you look in real close here. Let's get in a little bit closer to those snail trails. You can see where it's almost like power arced across them. And that's what that is. Again, if nobody, or if you forgot already, what I talked about before is it's a natural part of the degradation process on solar panels. It pretty much comes to them all. It's just a matter of when. And that's probably the biggest way that they wear out. And then here's, comparison to, actually, if you look, interesting. I hadn't looked at this until just now. This is a rich solar panel. This is a VSUN 455, but that pattern there is identical to there. Huh. Maybe they're made by the same company. Who knows? I think maybe my point in that last little bit there was, I wouldn't necessarily stress about the different solar panel brands quite as much. Find the best deal you can. As long as the panels are looking very similar, they're probably going to perform very similar. I don't know exactly what the solar panel production looks like in China, but I imagine it's all in the same area or they're all using the same designs. It's not a lot different. What I would look for is return. How do they handle returns, warranty issues, things like that? That's where I think you're going to get the real differentiator. And I guess shout out to Rich Solar. They've always done a great job for us. We've had a couple of problems throughout the past, but they've always taken care of us. Well, here is how the solar turned out. We ended up getting 300 watts on here. I'm used to the 200 watt panels, aren't I? So got those all secured down. Had to get a little creative with the bracketing there a little bit, but they are good and secure. I'd take this thing anywhere, even to the moon somehow. So anyway, I think I just got to put some spray foam in a couple of holes down below, and then let's take it out in the sunshine and see if Zuki down there approves. What do you think, Zook? Zuki, what do you think? Well, here we are. We got it outside, and we're getting about a little over 8, sometimes 9 watts, or not watts, amps into the battery. Multiply that times, what would multiply that times? 13 or 12, and that's our power into it. Not a ton, but it is getting later in the day. You can see the shadows are definitely getting longer here, so that's not horrible. All right, a little bit of bonus content here while we were doing a final test on this Winnebago touring coach. What we noticed was that we were not getting the charge we expected out of the alternator, and it turns out I'm not getting any connectivity out of the battery isolator when I put my meter on it here. So I got a new one here. We're going to replace it, swap it out, and hopefully I can do it without pulling the chair off. We'll see what happens. All right, I already got one lug off, and my thought here is to use some leftover heat shrink tube I have and just slide it on there, and that should keep that plenty protected so I don't got to worry about it. All right, we got it replaced, and let's see if we can get a reading here. We're getting about somewhere between 22, 25 amps going into the battery. That'll work. And you can see this is the voltage readout on this system. 14.1 volts, that's pretty much where the alternator is gonna keep it. Yeah, it's still hanging around there. It's not changing much. A lot of people are worried about connecting their batteries directly to the alternator. They're worried that it's gonna overload it. These systems are generally designed to not push crazy amounts of amps. And to tell you the truth, even if this is lithium, it's not going to be a lot different because these batteries are still AGM. We plan on changing it in the future. We may pull, I would say, maybe as much as double the amps. It's really windy out here. Hopefully I don't blow away. There are times and places to use the DC-DC chargers like the new Orion XS, which is great, by the way. And some other options out there, but for a lot of people, I'm not sure that they're worth the bang for the buck. Especially when you got some solar going on. There's two things you got to be worried about, which is, number one, you don't want to overload your alternator. You don't want to cook that. We're safe here. And then the other one is we want to make sure our batteries get all the way charged. Well, if you got solar, that's going to take care of it. And you really don't want your lithium batteries, let's say, because that's where a lot of people worry. Let me try and get out of the wind here a little bit. People, they're really worried about keeping their batteries healthy on the lithium ones. And tell you the truth, they would prefer to sit at 80, 90%. So if you're on a long road trip, let solar top them up. Let your alternator get it most of the way there. They'll be fine. Now, if you want a DC-DC charger, I have no problem with that. I'll install one for you. But for many of you, you're on a limited budget. And I guess I would put the DC-DC charger down. I would rather see you have more solar. I would rather see you have another battery. I would rather see you, I don't know, have the Servo GX and display. I think that's going to do a lot more good long term. Just my 2 cents. I'm just some guy in a field who decided to install solar and off-grid power systems for a living now. So batteries are pretty close to full as the amps continue to drop. Lead acid now takes a lot longer to charge. If this were lithium, it would be about full. But because these are AGMs, they really need to do this for a couple more hours, but the amps are going to continue to fall off. So I think that's about it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you didn't like something I did, leave a comment down below. If you liked what I did, leave a comment down below. If you need help with your off-grid power system, your RV, your camper, your, we got one over here, Airstream. Well, we got another Airstream there. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Class A's, ice houses, garden shed. I don't know. I'm trying to think of different stuff. Golf cart. We're going to be doing some golf carts soon. Check us out at sotasolar.com. That's with an L right there. All right. We will catch you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.